Thank you, Professor Warren. I will start the questioning, and then we'll go through the various members. In reading your statement and looking at the goals for the Bureau that have been lined out in your statement, you have mentioned repeatedly going back in and looking at old regulations, removing old regulations, and determining which of those are obsolete instead of piling more and more on top. But as I was reading, I couldn't really see where actually that's an effort that's moving forward in terms of weeding out and regulatory reform with the existing regulations. Can you give me just a brief update on where you are on that particular issue?
Yes, ma'am. I really am glad that you asked this question, because what it permits us to talk about is not just our overall, that we really are trying to look through regulations and find places where they can be more efficient. And I should mention, in our process for doing that, we have reached out particularly to community banks, to credit unions, to financial industry, people across the spectrum, to try to learn from them where the regulations are most problematic. And we have settled on our first priority for this agency, and that is to take two forms. One is called the TILA form, and the other is called the RESPA form. These are forms you may remember the last time you bought a home or did a mortgage refinancing, somewhere in those stack of documents that you dealt with. These are two forms that community bankers tell me have roughly about an 80% overlap in terms of the content. But they're written differently, they're organized differently, they have different pieces to them, and as a result, they are expensive to fill out. They have regulatory compliance costs, that is, they've got to show that they complied with the regulations, and there are real regulatory consequences if they get something wrong, if they leave something blank. In fact, in several meetings, I've had community bankers and credit unions come to me and show me these forms and show me what it's like and how much time they have to spend and how much training to fill these out. So what we propose to do at the consumer agency, and we're very much doing this in concert with the banking industry and with the mortgage industry, is to bring those two forms together. And I want to pause here to say, you know, you'd think that wouldn't be a hard thing to do if there's that much overlap. Because financial regulation has been scattered, the consumer issues have been scattered among 7 different agencies, this particular one has been held by 2 different agencies, and there have been negotiations for more than 15 years to try to merge those 2 forms into one. Well, now they're both coming to the new Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We're now able to work with the community banks, with the credit unions, with others in the industry, and we're going to put those together. What we're looking for is a 1-page mortgage shopping sheet that is simpler, easier, shorter, more value to the consumer. So lower regulatory costs, higher value to the consumer. We regard that as the sweet spot for this agency.
All right, thank you. I'm interested in your response. You mentioned more than a few times community banks and credit unions. I'm sure that's by no accident, but in creating this bureau, those entities were led to believe that they were going to be exempted from the purview of the CFPB, which in your comments pretty much nullify that impression. You're going to them for ideas. You're creating a form, and I applaud that effort. Having bought homes before, it is very confusing, and nobody can read through those forms. We all know that. But I think you're backing up what my banker, community banker Charles Maddie, when he testified before the committee, said that you know, he's already had 1,000 pages of new proposed rules. There will be thousands of more. He's already had to hire one person in a community bank to meet these challenges. And I think this is a question that goes to the heart of the overreach or implicitly exempting these community banks who don't have the $10 billion level. And actually, they are a part of this. And I'll say, just because I'm running out of time, I only have 24 seconds. In terms of the servicer issue, I'm glad, obviously, we addressed that a lot in our opening statements. You kept saying, cop on the beat, cop on the beat. The real question is, this agency doesn't really go into effect until July. And are you really a cop on the beat? Can you perform as a cop on the beat when you really haven't had your, I don't know, your training yet, or you haven't been equipped yet. And I think that the properness of that is what's come into question. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Maloney if she wants to.
Thank you. Thank you.